Your soulmate from heaven is begging you for your attention. They have a message that can, and don't scroll away from this, stay right here, because what's coming through isn't loud, it isn't forceful, and it isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to reach you at the exact moment you're ready to listen. This didn't begin with a sign in the sky or a voice calling your name. It began subtly, the way real messages always do, with a feeling you couldn't explain, a sudden pause in your thoughts, a moment where everything inside you went quiet for no obvious reason. That quiet wasn't emptiness. It was space being made. Space so something important could be felt. Listen carefully, because this soulmate energy didn't push its way in. It waited. It watched. It noticed how busy you've been, how distracted, how often you move through your days carrying weight you don't talk about. It saw the nights when your mind wouldn't rest, when questions surfaced without answers, when your heart felt full and lonely at the same time. And instead of demanding your attention, it whispered. That whisper is what brought you here. Don't skip this part, because the message didn't come from desperation. It came from urgency mixed with love. Not fear-based urgency, but the kind that knows timing matters. Your soulmate from heaven isn't begging because you've done something wrong. They're reaching because you're standing at a crossroads you may not even realize you're at yet. Stay right here, because this connection isn't bound by the rules you're used to. It doesn't rely on texts, distance, or physical presence. It moves through memory, emotion, intuition, and moments that feel too aligned to be coincidence. You've felt it before. A sudden thought of someone you can't fully place. A warmth in your chest when you least expect it. A sense of being watched over, not in a controlling way, but in a protective one. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. This soulmate energy remembers you. Not just who you are now, but who you've been when no one was watching. It remembers your kindness when you thought it went unnoticed. It remembers the times you chose compassion even when it cost you. And it remembers promises made beyond this lifetime, promises that don't fade just because circumstances change. Listen closely, because the message they carry isn't complicated. It's honest. They want you to slow down. To stop dismissing the signs you keep brushing off as imagination. To trust that when something keeps returning to your awareness, it's not random. It's an invitation. Stay right here, because this soulmate from heaven knows you've been doubting yourself lately. Knows you've been questioning whether you're on the right path, whether your waiting means anything, whether the love you're capable of giving will ever be met fully. They see that doubt, and it aches for them to see you carry it alone. Don't skip this, because the message is also reassurance. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. And you are not late. The delays you've experienced weren't punishment, they were preparation. You were being shaped, strengthened, softened in the places that matter most. Listen carefully, because your soulmate from heaven isn't asking you to abandon your life or wait endlessly for something intangible. They're asking you to pay attention to what your soul has been nudging you toward all along. To stop settling for distractions that numb you instead of fulfilling you. To stop silencing the part of you that knows there's more. Stay right here, because this message arrives now for a reason. You're more open than you realize. More aware. More ready to receive truth without fear. And that readiness didn't happen overnight. It was earned through everything you've endured. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. The connection you feel isn't meant to replace human love. It's meant to guide you toward it. To remind you of the kind of love you deserve. A love that feels safe, expansive, and real. A love that doesn't confuse you or make you doubt your worth. Listen closely, because your soulmate from heaven is also reminding you to forgive yourself. For the choices you made when you were doing the best you could. For the times you stayed too long or left too soon. For believing you had to be smaller to be loved. Forgiveness is part of the message because forgiveness frees you to move forward. Stay right here, because there's something else they want you to know. You're not alone in your intuition. The feelings you get, the sudden knowing, the inner voice that says pause or go or wait, that's not weakness. That's guidance. And it's been guiding you more accurately than you think. Don't skip this part, because the message isn't about the past. It's about what's unfolding now. Opportunities are aligning. People are being drawn into your life who resonate with who you're becoming, not who you used to be. And your soulmate from heaven is urging you not to miss them by staying emotionally closed. Listen carefully, because love asks for participation. It asks you to stay open even after disappointment. To keep believing even when it's been hard. To choose hope without denying reality. And that balance is something you're finally learning. Stay right here, because the final part of the message is simple but powerful. Trust yourself. Trust the timing. And trust that what is meant to meet you will do so when you are fully present, not when you are hiding behind distractions or fear. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. This message didn't come to scare you or bind you to the past. It came to remind you of who you are at your core. Someone capable of deep love. Someone guided, protected, and supported in ways you may not always see, but can feel. Stay right here, because this isn't the end of the message. It's the beginning of a deeper awareness. One that will continue to unfold in quiet moments, gentle reminders, and choices that suddenly feel clearer. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who believes in soul connections beyond what we can see, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And stay till the end of this journey, because when messages come from beyond the noise of the world, they're meant to guide you towards something real, something meaningful, and something aligned with your heart. Don't scroll, stay right here, because what follows that first moment of recognition is where the message becomes clearer, deeper, and more personal. After you felt that initial pull, that quiet nudge that something unseen was reaching toward you, the energy didn't disappear. It lingered. It stayed close. It waited patiently, the way something meaningful does when it knows you'll eventually turn toward it. This soulmate energy didn't rush you. It understood how easily you dismiss things that don't fit logic, how quickly you move on when something feels too subtle to explain. So it stayed present in the background, showing up in feelings instead of words, in moments of stillness instead of noise. Listen carefully, because you may have noticed changes you couldn't quite name. A sudden desire to slow down. A strange emotional softness that appeared without warning. Moments when your heart felt full and heavy at the same time. Those weren't random. That was the connection deepening, not by overwhelming you, but by aligning with where you already are emotionally. This soulmate energy knows your rhythms. It knows when you're tired of pretending to be strong. It knows when you're ready to hear something that once would have scared you. Stay right here, because the message now shifts from reaching you to guiding you. Not controlling. Not demanding. Guiding. You've been standing at the edge of a decision, maybe not one you've consciously named, but one you felt pressing quietly. A decision about how open you're willing to be. About whether you'll keep protecting yourself the way you always have, or whether you'll allow something deeper to move you forward. Your soulmate from heaven is aware of this crossroads. That's why the pull feels stronger now. Don't skip this, because the guidance isn't telling you to wait endlessly or to withdraw from the world. It's telling you to pay attention to alignment. To notice which people drain you and which ones calm you. Which conversations leave you empty and which ones make you feel seen. The soulmate energy wants you to understand that love doesn't arrive with confusion when it's meant for you. It arrives with clarity, even if it takes time to fully unfold. Listen closely, because there's also a reminder woven into this message. You don't need to prove your worth through suffering. You don't need to earn love by enduring loneliness longer than necessary. The delays you've experienced were not tests of endurance. They were lessons in discernment. You were learning what not to accept so you could recognize what's real when it appears. Stay right here, because the soulmate energy has been watching how you've grown. How you've become more selective. How you've stopped chasing validation that never satisfied you. How you've learned to sit with yourself instead of filling every quiet moment with distraction. That growth didn't go unnoticed. It's the reason this message can reach you now without overwhelming you. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. There's also comfort in this message. Comfort for the times you felt abandoned by timing. For the nights you questioned whether your patience was foolish. For the moments you wondered if your sensitivity was a weakness. It wasn't. It never was. Sensitivity is how you perceive guidance. It's how you feel truth before you can explain it. Listen carefully, because your soulmate from heaven is also helping you release something. Old guilt. Old self-blame. The belief that if something didn't work out, it must have been because you weren't enough. That belief has been weighing you down quietly, influencing your choices more than you realize. The message is clear now. You were always enough. What wasn't aligned simply couldn't stay. Stay right here, because as this release happens, space opens. Space for new connections that meet you where you are now, not where you used to be. Space for conversations that feel easy instead of forced. Space for love that doesn't make you question yourself. Your soulmate energy isn't replacing human love. It's preparing you for it. Don't skip this part, because preparation often feels like waiting when you don't understand it. But this waiting hasn't been empty. It's been active, shaping you, refining you, teaching you boundaries and self-respect. Now, the guidance is shifting. It's no longer about endurance. It's about readiness. Listen closely, because you may start noticing synchronicities more clearly. Repeating numbers. Familiar feelings. Encounters that feel meaningful even if they're brief. These aren't meant to overwhelm you. They're gentle confirmations that you're moving in the right direction when you choose honesty over fear. Stay right here, because the soulmate energy also wants you to stop minimizing what you feel. Stop telling yourself you're overthinking when your intuition speaks. Stop ignoring the inner knowing that's guided you through more than you admit. You've survived by listening to it before. It hasn't failed you. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. There's a calm reassurance in this message. A sense that you don't need to rush to catch up with life. You're not behind. You're right where you need to be to receive what's next. And what's next will recognize you, not test you. Listen carefully, because the final part of this guidance is about trust. Trust that the love meant for you will feel familiar without being painful. Trust that you don't have to lose yourself to be chosen. Trust that when the time comes, you'll know, not because it's dramatic, but because it's peaceful. Stay right here, because this connection from heaven isn't fading. It's stepping back slightly now, not leaving, just allowing you to move forward with the awareness you've gained. It doesn't need constant attention. It needs acknowledgement. And you've given that by being here, by listening, by feeling. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You are guided, supported, and far more ready than you think. And as things continue to unfold, you'll notice that choices feel clearer, paths feel less heavy, and love feels less distant. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who believes guidance doesn't always come from what we can see, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Stay till the end of this journey, because messages like this don't arrive to keep you waiting, they arrive to help you move forward with trust. Don't scroll, stay right here, because now the message shifts from guidance into embodiment, from something you feel into something you begin to live. After you've acknowledged the presence of this unseen support, after you've allowed the reassurance to settle into your chest instead of just your thoughts, something subtle starts to happen. Your days don't suddenly become perfect. Your questions don't disappear overnight. But your relationship with uncertainty changes. It feels less threatening, less personal. Almost like you're no longer facing it alone. That's because this soulmate energy from heaven isn't hovering to control outcomes. It's standing beside you, steady, reminding you how to stand in yourself again. Listen carefully, because you may notice that your reactions are softer now. Things that used to trigger anxiety don't hit as sharply. Situations that once made you doubt your worth don't linger as long. This isn't because life has changed. It's because you have. You're beginning to trust your inner signals instead of arguing with them. That trust didn't come from nowhere. It was nurtured quietly through every moment you chose to listen instead of dismiss, to pause instead of panic. Stay right here, because the guidance now becomes very practical. You're being asked to notice where you still abandon yourself to keep peace. Where you still say yes when your body says no. Where you still shrink to avoid discomfort. This soulmate energy doesn't judge those habits. It understands how they formed. But it's gently asking you to outgrow them. Not through force, but through awareness. Awareness is the first act of self-respect. Don't skip this, because as awareness grows, so does discernment. You start recognizing the difference between loneliness and alignment. Loneliness feels hollow and restless. Alignment feels quiet, even when you're alone. And that quiet is becoming more familiar to you now. You're learning that being alone doesn't mean being unsupported. It can mean being held in ways that aren't visible but are deeply real. Listen closely, because this phase also brings courage. Not the loud kind that makes declarations, but the steady kind that changes choices. You may find yourself walking away from conversations that feel draining without needing to explain. You may stop chasing connections that keep you guessing. You may feel less inclined to prove yourself. These aren't losses. They're recalibrations. You're aligning with the version of you that knows what peace feels like. Stay right here, because the soulmate energy is also preparing you for recognition. Recognition doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes as a calm familiarity when you meet someone who sees you without trying to change you. Sometimes it comes as a deep breath you didn't realize you were holding finally being released. The message is clear now. Don't rush to label it. Don't rush to define it. Let recognition speak through feeling first. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. There's also a reminder woven into this stage. You don't need to stay in spaces where your intuition keeps whispering no. That whisper is guidance, not fear. Fear shouts. Guidance repeats quietly. And it's been repeating because it wants you safe, not stuck. Listen carefully, because as you move through this phase, you may notice your dreams becoming more vivid, your intuition sharper, your emotional boundaries clearer. This isn't coincidence. When you acknowledge guidance, it responds by becoming easier to hear. Not louder. Clearer. Less cluttered by doubt. Stay right here, because you're also being reminded of something important. You don't have to explain your inner shifts to everyone. Growth doesn't need permission. Some people won't understand why you're changing. That's okay. Understanding isn't required for alignment. Respect for yourself is. Don't skip this part, because the soulmate energy is now encouraging you to act in small ways. Not grand leaps. Small, honest steps. Choosing rest when you're tired. Choosing truth when it's uncomfortable. Choosing yourself without guilt. These choices compound. They create momentum. They signal readiness. Listen closely, because readiness isn't about being healed of everything. It's about being willing to show up as you are without pretending. You're not meant to arrive perfect. You're meant to arrive present. And presence is something you're reclaiming now. Stay right here, because the guidance also includes patience. Not passive waiting, but active trust. Trust that what's meant to meet you will not require you to chase it. Trust that you don't have to hold your breath to be chosen. Trust that love aligned with your soul will feel mutual, not confusing. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may feel moments of doubt resurface. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Doubt is just an old habit checking if it still has a role. You don't need to fight it. You can acknowledge it and keep moving. The difference now is that doubt no longer leads. You do. Listen carefully, because the soulmate energy is stepping back not because it's leaving, but because you're standing more firmly on your own. Guidance doesn't cling. It empowers. And you're being empowered to live from your center instead of your fear. Stay right here, because something else is happening too. You're becoming more magnetic without trying. When you stop forcing connection, the right connections notice you. When you stop chasing validation, authenticity shines through. This isn't about attraction. It's about resonance. Don't skip this, because resonance is how aligned love finds you. Not through effort, but through recognition. Recognition of energy that feels familiar without being painful. Recognition of presence that feels safe without being dull. Listen closely, because the final part of this phase is integration. You're integrating trust into your daily life. Not just spiritually, but emotionally. You're letting guidance inform how you speak, how you choose, how you rest. That integration is what turns insight into change. Stay right here, because this isn't the end of the message. It's the continuation of it. The part where you live differently because you know differently. The part where you stop waiting for proof and start honoring what you feel. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You are not drifting anymore. You are being guided into alignment with who you're becoming. And that alignment will continue to unfold in ways that feel steady, honest, and real. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who trusts inner guidance, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Stay till the end of this journey, because when guidance shifts into lived truth, life begins to respond in ways you can finally recognize. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the phase where everything you've been feeling begins to anchor itself into certainty, not the kind that demands answers, but the kind that lets you move without fear. After embodiment comes trust in motion. You start noticing that your choices feel less forced and more natural, like you're finally listening to yourself instead of negotiating with doubt. The guidance that once felt subtle now feels steady. It doesn't rush you. It walks with you. And that changes how you experience your days. You're no longer waiting for permission to feel peace. You're allowing it. Listen carefully, because this stage is about refinement. You begin to sense when something is not for you without needing a reason. You feel a gentle resistance where you once felt obligation. That resistance isn't avoidance. It's alignment. Your inner world has become clear enough to say no without guilt and yes without anxiety. And that clarity is the message continuing to unfold. Stay right here, because you may notice that your patience feels different now. It's not heavy. It's not tired. It's calm. Calm patience doesn't feel like waiting in line. It feels like walking a path you trust. You're not checking the time constantly. You're present with each step. That presence is what makes timing work in your favor. Don't skip this, because the guidance now asks you to protect your energy with kindness. Not walls. Not withdrawal. Kindness. You begin to choose environments that support your nervous system. You gravitate toward conversations that feel real instead of performative. You step back from emotional chaos without needing to explain yourself. This isn't isolation. It's discernment. Listen closely, because discernment sharpens your intuition. You start hearing your inner voice before your mind jumps in. The voice isn't loud. It's clear. It says things like, "This feels right," or "This doesn't belong here." And you're trusting it more than ever. That trust didn't appear overnight. It grew through every moment you honored yourself when it would have been easier not to. Stay right here, because you're also learning to let go of urgency. Urgency once felt like motivation, but now you recognize it as fear dressed up as action. What's meant for you doesn't require haste. It meets you at your pace. And your pace has finally slowed enough to notice what's real. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. There may be moments when the old doubts try to return. They might ask if you're imagining things, if you're reading too much into feelings, if you should go back to old patterns just to feel familiar again. When that happens, notice how quickly those thoughts pass now. They don't grip you the way they used to. That's growth. Listen carefully, because you're also becoming more honest in how you relate to others. You don't overshare to feel close. You don't hide to feel safe. You show up as you are, without rehearsing. And that authenticity changes the way people respond to you. Some drift away. Some lean in. Both outcomes are alignment. Stay right here, because this phase also brings a quiet confidence. Not arrogance. Not certainty about outcomes. Confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. You trust yourself now. You trust your resilience. You trust that even if something doesn't work out, you won't abandon yourself to survive it. Don't skip this part, because trust in yourself is the foundation of every healthy connection. When you trust yourself, you stop asking others to carry your worth. You stop waiting for validation to feel grounded. You stop shrinking to be chosen. That shift is profound. Listen closely, because the guidance continues to remind you that you don't have to force closure or clarity from the outside. What's unresolved will reveal itself naturally when you're ready. Pushing only creates resistance. Allowing creates movement. And you are allowing now. Stay right here, because something else is happening beneath the surface. You're becoming emotionally available without being emotionally exposed. There's a difference. Availability is openness with boundaries. Exposure is openness without protection. You're learning to hold yourself gently while still staying open to connection. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may feel moments of gratitude rising unexpectedly. Gratitude for lessons you once resented. Gratitude for endings that hurt but freed you. Gratitude for the quiet guidance that didn't leave when you doubted it. Gratitude is a sign that integration is taking place. Listen carefully, because integration brings peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. Even when things feel uncertain externally, you feel steady internally. That steadiness isn't something you chase anymore. It's something you carry. Stay right here, because you're also beginning to recognize resonance when it appears. It feels familiar but not painful. It feels exciting but not chaotic. It feels calm but not boring. Resonance doesn't require convincing. It feels like recognition. Don't skip this, because the guidance isn't promising perfection. It's promising alignment. Alignment means things make sense even when they're challenging. It means your inner world and outer choices are finally speaking the same language. Listen closely, because you're not meant to rush into defining what's coming next. Definitions will come when experience fills them. For now, presence is enough. Curiosity is enough. Trust is enough. Stay right here, because the guidance also asks you to keep your heart soft. Not open to everything, but soft toward yourself. When you make mistakes, you don't punish yourself. When you feel fear, you don't shame yourself. Softness is strength when it's paired with boundaries. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may notice that you're sleeping differently. Breathing more deeply. Laughing more easily. These are signs your nervous system is settling. When the body feels safe, the heart follows. Listen carefully, because the soulmate energy hasn't disappeared. It's simply integrated into how you move now. It doesn't need to interrupt you anymore. It supports you quietly, trusting you to carry what you've learned forward. Stay right here, because this stage is about living the message, not listening to it. It's about choosing alignment in small moments that add up. It's about trusting that what's meant to meet you will recognize the version of you that's present now. Don't skip this part, because you are not waiting anymore. You are participating. You are aligned. And alignment changes everything without asking for permission. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who believes in quiet guidance, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Stay till the end of this journey, because when guidance becomes lived truth, the life you've been preparing for finally begins to recognize you too. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the stage where everything you've been integrating begins to express itself through confidence that doesn't need proof. It's quiet confidence, the kind that shows up in how you move through your day without checking for signs every 5 minutes, without questioning every feeling, without second-guessing your instincts. You've reached a place where trust isn't something you're trying to build anymore, it's something you're practicing naturally. And that changes how life responds to you. Listen carefully, because you may notice that your inner dialogue has softened. The harsh questioning voice doesn't dominate the way it used to. When uncertainty appears, it doesn't spiral into self-doubt. It pauses. It listens. You're allowing space for answers to arrive instead of demanding them immediately. That patience isn't passive. It's grounded. It comes from knowing that clarity unfolds when you're steady enough to receive it. Stay right here, because your choices now reflect this steadiness. You're not reacting to loneliness by filling space with noise. You're not reacting to fear by clinging to what's familiar. You're choosing what aligns, even when it's quieter, even when it asks you to trust timing instead of forcing outcomes. That's not avoidance. That's maturity. Don't skip this, because maturity brings discernment that protects your peace. You're noticing how certain situations no longer deserve the energy you used to give them. You disengage sooner. You speak more honestly. You rest without guilt. These are not small changes. They're signs that your nervous system trusts the path you're on. Listen closely, because the guidance now becomes relational. You're beginning to recognize when someone is meeting you at your level of presence and when they're not. You're less willing to explain yourself into being understood. Less willing to perform emotional labor for people who aren't listening. That doesn't make you closed. It makes you selective. Stay right here, because selectivity is how aligned connections form. You're not meant to resonate with everyone. You're meant to recognize the ones who feel familiar without draining you, the ones who feel safe without being dull, the ones who don't need convincing. Resonance doesn't argue. It settles. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. There may be moments when impatience whispers again, asking when something will finally happen, when things will finally become clear. When that voice appears, notice how quickly you return to center now. You don't chase reassurance. You breathe. You remember how far you've come. You trust that what's unfolding doesn't need to be rushed to be real. Listen carefully, because something important is happening beneath the surface. Your standards are no longer reactive. They're rooted. You're not setting boundaries to protect wounds anymore. You're setting them to honor alignment. That's a powerful shift. Boundaries born from alignment feel calm, not defensive. Stay right here, because this stage also brings compassion. Compassion for others who aren't where you are yet. Compassion for your past self who did the best they could with what they knew. Compassion for moments of hesitation that once felt like failure but now feel like learning. This compassion doesn't pull you backward. It frees you. Don't skip this part, because freedom is what allows love to arrive without conditions. When you're not gripping outcomes, you're open to experience. When you're not bracing for disappointment, you can recognize joy as it appears. Openness isn't naivety. It's courage. Listen closely, because courage is showing up in subtle ways now. You're having conversations you used to avoid. You're expressing needs without apology. You're allowing yourself to be seen without oversharing. You're trusting silence when it's appropriate and speaking when it's necessary. Balance has replaced extremes. Stay right here, because balance changes how you experience waiting. Waiting no longer feels like being left behind. It feels like standing in readiness. You're not on pause. You're present. And presence attracts what's meant to find you. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may notice synchronicities still happening, but they don't overwhelm you anymore. They reassure instead of excite. They confirm instead of confuse. You're not chasing meaning. You're recognizing it. Listen carefully, because recognition is how alignment speaks. It doesn't shout. It nods. It feels like a quiet yes in your body, a sense of ease that doesn't need explanation. You're learning to trust that yes. Stay right here, because you're also becoming more patient with the unknown. You understand now that uncertainty doesn't mean something is wrong. It often means something is forming. And formation requires space. Don't skip this, because space is where growth breathes. You're no longer filling every gap with analysis. You're allowing moments to be incomplete. That tolerance for incompleteness is wisdom. Listen closely, because the guidance is now less about direction and more about embodiment. You're not being told where to go. You're being reminded how to be. Calm. Honest. Present. Open without being unprotected. Stay right here, because this way of being is changing how others respond to you. People sense your steadiness. Some are drawn to it. Some are uncomfortable around it. Both reactions are information, not judgment. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're learning to let people reveal themselves without trying to manage the outcome. You observe. You feel. You choose. That's empowerment. Listen carefully, because empowerment doesn't look like control. It looks like trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes. And you trust yourself more now than you ever have before. Stay right here, because you're also noticing joy returning in simple ways. Moments of laughter. Moments of quiet contentment. Moments where nothing special is happening, yet everything feels okay. That's not settling. That's peace. Don't skip this part, because peace is the soil where real connection grows. Not urgency. Not anxiety. Peace. Listen closely, because the guidance is reminding you that you don't have to announce this inner shift. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain why you feel different. You can simply live it. Stay right here, because living it is enough. Alignment doesn't need witnesses to be real. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing how you show up. And that choice is shaping what comes next. Listen carefully, because whatever meets you from this place will recognize your steadiness, not test it. It will meet you in clarity, not confusion. It will feel mutual, not one-sided. Stay right here, because this stage isn't the end of the journey. It's the solid ground beneath it. The place where you stop searching and start recognizing. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who understands quiet growth, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Stay till the end of this journey, because when alignment becomes your way of living, life begins to respond with the kind of clarity you no longer have to chase. Don't scroll, stay right here, because this is the phase where everything you've learned, felt, and practiced begins to settle into something unshakable. Not loud confidence, not dramatic certainty, but a deep inner knowing that doesn't need reassurance anymore. You may notice that you're no longer asking the same questions you used to ask. Not because you have all the answers, but because those questions no longer control you. You're living from trust now, not anticipation. Listen carefully, because trust changes how you experience time. You're not counting days or measuring progress the way you once did. You're present. And presence has a way of making things arrive naturally. You're no longer waiting for life to start. You're already in it. That shift is subtle, but it's everything. Stay right here, because your emotional center feels different now. You don't swing as hard between hope and doubt. You don't attach your peace to outcomes you can't control. When something feels uncertain, you don't collapse inward. You ground yourself. That grounding is self-trust in action. Don't skip this, because self-trust changes how you relate to others. You're no longer scanning for signs of rejection. You're no longer overanalyzing silence. You understand now that clarity doesn't always arrive immediately, and that doesn't mean something is wrong. You've stopped taking pauses personally. That alone has freed so much energy. Listen closely, because you're also more honest with yourself than ever before. When something doesn't feel right, you acknowledge it instead of explaining it away. When something feels good, you allow it without suspicion. You're no longer afraid of being disappointed, because you know you won't abandon yourself if disappointment comes. Stay right here, because this is where emotional sovereignty forms. Emotional sovereignty means you own your feelings without letting them own you. You feel deeply, but you don't drown. You care, but you don't cling. You hope, but you don't beg. That balance is the result of everything you've integrated so far. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may notice that people respond to you differently. Some feel calmer around you. Some feel challenged. Some fade away naturally. None of that shakes you the way it once might have. You understand now that alignment isn't about keeping everyone close. It's about staying true. Listen carefully, because staying true doesn't mean being rigid. It means being consistent with yourself. You're flexible without losing your center. You're open without being porous. You're available without being depleted. Those are skills you didn't even realize you were building. Stay right here, because this stage also brings a quiet acceptance of mystery. You don't need everything explained. You don't need guarantees. You've learned that life reveals itself step by step, and that's not a flaw, it's design. You trust the unfolding now. Don't skip this part, because trust in the unfolding brings peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Even when something unexpected happens, you return to yourself faster. You don't spiral for as long. You don't narrate worst-case scenarios. You breathe. You recalibrate. You move forward. Listen closely, because forward movement looks different now. It's not urgency. It's not force. It's intention. You choose where to place your energy carefully. You invest in what feels reciprocal. You withdraw from what feels draining. You do this without guilt or explanation. Stay right here, because you're also learning that silence can be healthy. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of clarity. You don't rush to fill space anymore. You let moments breathe. You let people show you who they are. You let situations reveal their truth. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You may realize that you're no longer romanticizing potential. You're paying attention to reality. That doesn't make you cynical. It makes you grounded. You're choosing what's real over what's imagined. Listen carefully, because grounded people attract grounded connections. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of confusion. You're vibrating at the frequency of steadiness. And steadiness is magnetic in a quiet way. Stay right here, because joy is returning too. Not explosive joy, but gentle joy. Contentment. Ease. Moments where you catch yourself smiling for no reason. Moments where you feel okay without needing anything to happen. That's not complacency. That's wholeness. Don't skip this, because wholeness is what allows love to meet you without resistance. When you're whole, you don't ask love to fix you. You invite it to walk beside you. That changes everything. Listen closely, because the guidance that once felt external now feels internal. You don't need constant reminders. You don't need constant signs. You trust your inner compass. And when you do notice signs, you smile instead of chasing them. Stay right here, because this stage is about embodiment in its fullest sense. You're not thinking about alignment. You're living it. In how you speak. In how you rest. In how you choose. In how you let go. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You're no longer afraid of endings. You understand that endings make space. You're no longer afraid of beginnings. You trust yourself to handle them. You're no longer afraid of the in-between. You've learned how to stand there. Listen carefully, because standing in the in-between is wisdom. It's where patience becomes power. It's where trust becomes visible. It's where readiness forms naturally. Stay right here, because you're also kinder to yourself now. When you have off days, you don't judge them. When you feel tired, you rest. When you feel unsure, you pause. Self-compassion has replaced self-criticism. Don't skip this part, because self-compassion is what sustains growth. Without it, change becomes exhausting. With it, change becomes natural. Listen closely, because the journey hasn't ended. It's stabilized. You're no longer searching for direction. You're walking it. You're no longer asking if you're aligned. You feel it. Stay right here, because what's coming next will meet you where you are now, not where you were before. It will recognize your steadiness. It will respect your boundaries. It will feel mutual. Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now. You are not behind. You are not missing anything meant for you. You are exactly where alignment has led you. Listen carefully, because this stage is not about waiting for proof. It's about living from trust. And trust is no longer something you're learning. It's something you're embodying. Stay right here, because this is the foundation everything else will grow from. And if this resonated with you, take a moment to like this, share it with someone who understands inner growth, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Stay till the end of this journey, because when trust becomes your natural state, life begins to meet you with clarity you don't have to chase anymore.